So, welcome, folks. We'll get started in just a little bit. Welcome to Monday Meals. My name is Liz Huck. I'm the Executive Director for Oakland Rising and excited about this conversation today. Oh, it's not Monday Meals. Today's Tuesday. We did a special this week. We're calling it Tuesday Lunch Special, and we're going to have Kat Brooks on with us today to talk about the win and also about the budget win that we had with the city, and then also just learn a little bit more about defund. I think, what does that mean, and in all the ways that folks, I think, need to hear about, especially because after that pretty big win of getting $18 million to be funded to Department of Violence Prevention, the police chief, Chief Armstrong, and Council Member Lauren Taylor are really stomping hard out there to share some disinformation about that win and how they are using fear to really stir up a frenzy, I think, a frenzy around what defund is and what that means for Oakland. So just waiting for Kat to join. I'm hoping that she'll be able to join soon. And I just wanted to also flag that yesterday, oh, here's Kat. Yesterday we had on our Monday meals, we had Kat, it looks like you might not be able to join. Hold on a sec. Let me try one more time. It says unable to join. I wonder if that might mean because you need a newer version of IG, or maybe you're on your laptop. I think it has to be on your phone or an iPad if you have one. I see Pete. I see Annie. I see some good folks. I see Kev Choice. What's up, y'all? So I also wanted to give you, I'm not sure what's up, Kat. That if you all can check out yesterday's video on the Monday meals, I talked with Van Cedric Williams, who is the District 3 OUSD school board director, as well as District 5 director Mike Hutchinson. And we talked a lot about the budget and the OUSD budget that's happening, but also some other critical points that was really important for us to hear about, which is that Oakland Unified School District is leasing, oh, here she comes, leasing land to developers in District 6 and District 2, District 4, I believe. Hi, Kat. I'm just finishing up on wrapping up about yesterday's Monday meal, and we learned that they are about to approve lease of 2 land parcels in Oakland for 75-year leases to be leased for development of housing. And at this point, we don't know if it's affordable housing or if it's fair market housing, at market rate housing, which we don't need. But each of those parcels are going for $4,000 and $3,000 each for the next 75 years. So when we all think about OUSD just being its own entity, we need to know that gentrification and development and charter schools are completely tied. So if we give up this land, then without the assurances that some of that housing is going to go to, our folks working for the school district, for Oaklanders, for affordable housing. I think it's going to really add to the gentrification in Oakland. So y'all, if you can get on to OUSD school board meeting tomorrow, let the folks know that you do not approve of this. If you can't get on the public comment, and OUSD is a little different than the city council meetings. They take public comment per agenda item as opposed to like one full public comment agenda line. So if you can't get on, make sure that you're getting on e-comment at least, and share that you don't want this, that public land is meant for public good. And without those assurances, that OUSD should not move forward with this, and really back Mike Hutchinson and back Van Cedric Williams in their effort to really stop this. But you can watch the other Monday Meals video so that you can catch up on the details. But, today we are here to talk to the amazing Kat Brooks, the executive director of Justice Team, and one of the co-founders of Anti-Police Terror Project. And so excited to finally talk to you, Kat. We weren't able to talk the last time because a family emergency came up. So, and I know that you just came back from vacation, so I'm really glad that you did that. And we're calling this Tuesday lunch special because it's lunchtime.
Where's your lunch?
My lunch is right here.
All right. I was like, am I eating alone? All right.
No.
Right
I'm having soup. So, because we want to nourish our bodies, nourish our minds, nourish our hearts.
Right.
And so, so I wanted to hear what you're having for lunch and what are you doing these days to nourish yourself and take care of yourself?
I am having a salad, types of protein in it, and I'm having some hummus and chips and a little bit of potato salad that I made the other night.
Yum, that sounds right.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
Yeah. What other things are you doing to take care of yourself? What other, I don't want to say self-care per se, because it's a hard word for me to swallow, because if you're taking care of yourself, you're nourishing yourself, you're finding all the ways to fill yourself. I know that also means you're filling the community up too, because you're able to become full and present. So what are the ways are you taking care of yourself so that you can come into the presence of community fully?
Well, like you said, I just took 2 weeks off. Well, it was really sort of off in theory.
I know, because I saw that op-ed.
I was still right. I had to turn around, of course, after what happened at the Juneteenth celebration. I needed to turn that around pretty quickly for the Chronicle. And there, of course, the budget stuff was moving, so it's not like I could just not tap in or respond to calls, etc. Luckily, the team is fucking amazing, so it wasn't too intensive. But I don't think there might have been 3 or 4 days where there was no work, but there was always something. But that said, working from my counter in West Oakland or working driving through the amazing mountains of Montana.
Oh,
it's a
difference.
Yeah, there's a big difference. So that, as I had some medical stuff and and getting easier and easier. Good to see you too, Community Printers East Bay. So I put a gym in. Gym. In my house, and I'm walking every day. I got cleared to do some additional exercise to do that. I meditate, and then folks know I'm an artist, so I write. I write, and we're planning Laura Bottom Players and Black Garrett Band CDC. We're planning our theater fest, and it's extra work, but really that's when my soul, that's when my soul eases up. Is when I'm free.
Right. I love that. I can't wait for the BAM festival because it's going to be so amazing. there's just so much creativity and art, and beauty and culture not just as art, but like food and the whole arena of what that means in Oakland. It's just amazing and beautiful. And I just every week, like Kev Choice, he's on here. He just did the Black Matters.
Black Music Matters. I know
Yeah,
I
that
missed
Black
it
music.
this year.
It
I
was
was gone, Kev.
so good. It was so good. It was so amazing.
He did that for the first time last year in the like when COVID, like, we were all like, we're all gonna die. It was so beautiful. Like, it was so beautiful, and
Yeah.
people socially distanced. The stage is far enough away. Kev, I'm super glad you did it again this year. I'm sad I wasn't there.
Yeah, and I missed it last year, so I was like, this year I got to make sure I get out there. And then on Saturday, UPM and Tribe and the Violence
Yeah.
Department of Violence Prevention and Faith in Action and Oakland Rising, we went out into San Antonio Park and have this Silence the Violence event. And there was, of course, at both spots, y'all, line dancing had to come out. But at the San Antonio Park, they had like massages, and they had a kids zone. They had horses. Like, come on, y'all.
Nice.
They did a march through the San Antonio neighborhood, which is actually something that a lot of people don't know is really hit hard by some of the violence that's happening in the city. And I think, there's a lot of narrative out there that's like, it's just Deep East, it's just in these spots. And in fact, San Antonio is actually one of the hottest spots. And it's named by OPD as one of the hot spots. So
West Oakland too. Like,
right.
we just get ignored, right? And
Exactly.
gunshots every day. I don't know if you saw my Facebook this morning. I'll share if we have a moment.
Yeah, of course, please.
I bought my house here in West Oakland in 2009, and there was a group of D-boys on the block, and they were just there, and they were handling their business, and I never felt endangered. Actually, they were very good about keeping their business contained.
Yeah.
And then just to say more about that, right? Like, and no shade, because so many of our people are locked out of the above ground economy. I'm not mad at people who are hustling to make their living, right? People got to put a roof over their head. And this goes to a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about, Liz, over the last years, about helping people create pathways, for healthier ways of being able to live.
Right.
So anyway, there's one young dude there, and always respectful, polite, funny, charming. And he would tell me, Mama Cat, I was watching the house while you was gone. You ain't got nothing to worry about. We got you. And I legit, hi Angels Keeper, I legit felt safe. He made me feel safe. So these same people that our community, or that, that people criminalize and demonize, like, I feel safe. And nobody's ever messed with my house except for the white supremacists this past summer. But anyway, so the corner got cleared. And I hadn't seen him in about a year and a half. And I was walking right before I left for my vacation. And there he was. And he was, all dressed and clearly in work clothes and looking good. And I asked him how he was doing. And he said, I'm great. I said, I got a 9-to-5, staying alive.
Wow.
Like, yes.
Oh, I love that.
So then I came back and I went for my walk this morning, and
oh no, don't tell me. Oh no.
Yeah, sorry. And big picture of him on one of the sides of the houses on the altar. He was killed while we were gone. And all I could think about, like, as I was, because there was the immediacy of the loss of him and that light. And then there was the rage around the loss of him, but also the loss of so much Black life senselessly. And the fact that we can't, as a whole, seem to get that what we're doing isn't working. And, people come for us. They come for me in particular ways, right? I'm anti-Black. I don't understand street violence. I've lost folks to street violence. I'm Black. I want my daughter to walk outside of the door and be able to go to the corner store and be sure that she's going to make it home. And I'm just so clear. I don't know that I've ever been this clear in my entire organizing life about what the answer is, right? And
Right.
address trauma and invest resources. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, even LaRon yesterday and Libby yesterday,
Yeah.
and I got so angry, Liz. I
Yeah.
got so angry. You know
I
what I
know.
mean? So that's how I started my day today. But I'm glad to be having this conversation because, it's like some people will point to the brother and say,
Yeah.
that's why we don't defund. Actually,
Yeah.
that's exactly why we do defund, because
Right.
what we're doing isn't fucking working. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's so key to understand that, right? Like, um, before I came to Oakland Rising, I was trying to go into a whole different field of work, I was trying to get out of the nonprofit race, and I was trying to go
Why
in a
it's so much fun.
I know it's fulfilling, gives me purpose. Um, and but while I was doing that, I had to hustle like three different gigs or four at times. And I was running a whole, which is what Monday Meals is based off of. I used to cook all day Sunday so I could sell these Monday meals. And I was completely underground on it, right? And what is different from what I was doing as someone else running some other kind of game,
That's
right?
right.
And so,
That's right.
and for me, that's the part that then, like, I think about it, like, what's the difference between what I did and what, this young brother was doing, and
Right.
what's legitimate and what's not legitimate, and what's criminalized and what's not. And now that, we think about the war on drugs, like I grew up in Oakland during the war on drugs, and to continually see the impacts of that in our community, right? Like to watch the city go from that time to now, that's about 30-year span. And I have never seen this city so fucking dirty.
Oh my God, we were just talking about it
It's
this
so
morning on our walk.
filthy.
It's
It's so
disgusting.
disgusting. Like, I feel like I live in a pigsty. And then what people like to do, though, is they like to just point it at individual people, right? It's like the same thing with environmental justice. It's like, just do your recycling. It's like, there's a bigger issue here, right? Like the public works
Like
department
the
hasn't been,
air I can't breathe.
I'm saying that the public works department hasn't been funded. It's been funded at the same level since 1990s, and you expect us to have clean streets, and it's on me to like make sure I throw my trash away, like, so yes, we have personal responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
and the city must take care of us, and it
And it's
hasn't.
definitely both and, right? It's definitely both
Yeah.
and, because it's funny, we were having this conversation this morning too, and a little bit of debate, because I got pissy yesterday because I watched someone in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
throw a whole damn bag of food out the window, and that's like regular stuff, right? And these are
Right.
black folks, and I'm calling them like these are black folks, right? And I'm like, yo, this is our neighborhood, and right here's the
Mm-hmm.
and I also understand, right? Like, for a lot of our young people, like, they don't give a fuck about us. I don't give a fuck about anything else, right? Like all of that shit is connected, and
Exactly.
it doesn't do us any good to not instill personal responsibility in our young people. And I'm sure as hell not going to allow you to demonize and criminalize young people for reacting, for having trauma informed reaction to
Right.
the conditions that the state creates.
Exactly. Like, let's create some jobs then.
Right.
Let's get some people some jobs.
Right.
Let's get this going. And I think
Well, but the other thing, just real quick, Liz, the other thing
please.
is if you're not going to tell me that white folks don't throw out trash out their windows, right? Right. But what I do know is they ain't leaving that shit on Libby Street.
Okay.
I know that. I know DPV is on that street, right? And the streets around there. I've walked damn near every neighborhood in this city, right? I know where the trash is left and where it's not, and then also, and then this shit. You know this, Liz.
Yep.
The same people that the city is giving contracts to, the same people that donate to Shaft's campaign, the developers, those are the same companies, when you see their names on the side of their trucks, dumping entire truckloads of the trash from the developments of housing that our folks in these neighborhoods can't afford in our fucking streets.
Okay.
Same folks. On video, right?
Yep.
Because Black and Brown folks started filming that shit.
Yep.
No consequences, no
None.
impact to their dollars, their contract, nothing. It's absurd.
None. It is so absurd. And I think like this is one of those, this is such a critical point in history, in Oakland's history, right? I mean, nationally too. I think we are seeing this, you know, we've seen it since last summer, right? And I think everybody's been talking about it. I mean, we even have the ex-president talking about what's legitimate to say or not to say on this subject, right? But like, you know, I really want to get to the heart of a couple things. Like one, addressing some of the lies that are coming out from Libby's office, from the police chief, and from Lauren Taylor's office. Really combating some of those by telling the true narrative of defund, right? And, you know, in all truthfulness, you know, Oakland Rising is part of the Defund Police Coalition, but it is really founded on APTP's work. And so I'm hoping that you could share that. I know you shared it a lot in a lot of different places, but if we could share that here, and then, you know, how that really ties into the lies in which we're living with right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope everybody else also has their lunch, that Liz and I are not eating alone.
Yes, please.
That you guys are nourishing, you people, you folks are nourishing yourselves. So yeah, so the defund OPD campaign, excuse me, it kicked off 6 years ago. And it was really in response to two things. One is what we call what I've called Bloody 2015. And during that time, the Oakland Police Department murdered 11 Black men, including Demaria Hogg, who was asleep in his car. At the same time, yay, someone's gonna make a salad. Good.
Yes.
At the same time that was happening, Libby and the former police chief, Sean Went, were on a national tour, pointing to the Oakland Police Department as a model for change. Now, at that time, the Oakland Police Department was still one of the most murderous police departments in the entire state, right? They were averaging between 8 to 10 people every single year and had been for decades. And if you break that down, that's a BIPOC body almost once a month, right?
Right.
And in fact, Libby was having the morning after Demaria was murdered, Libby was having a town hall right up the street on policing and went right past that body and never mentioned that this Black man had been assassinated within like seconds of waking up. Yeah, seconds, literally.
That is so on brand.
And so, that's the shit that makes me so mad, right? But then, like, a George Floyd happens, or, you know, a national
exactly.
Happens, and this broad wants to talk about what a shame, and da-da-da. You are the shame. And I have to, like, keep our people's name out of your mouth, actually. Ancestors don't like being disrespected.
Right.
So,
right.
So that was happening, and so we were angry, and so we were people may remember that time we were in the streets all the time. That was also sort of the heyday of BLM, you know, BLM came around 2014. And so, you know, movement was already happening here in Oakland.
Right.
We'd been moving pretty nonstop since Oscar Grant was murdered in 2009. Different iterations, but by this time, APTP was in existence. So, and then right after, this is a year of that, of folks may remember, taking freeways, chaining ourselves to BART trains, protesting all the time, shutting down traffic, shutting down city council meetings, and we were just nonstop. And that was also the year the Say Her Name movement was born. That wasn't us. That's Black Youth Project 100. Right. And then 2016, Celeste Guap revealed that she had been trafficked and raped by 14 law enforcement agencies, including the Oakland Police Department, since the time she was a child, right? So Libby likes to call it the sex scandal. It's a rape scandal. Children.
Exactly.
So James Birch, who's the policy director for the Anti-Police Terror Project, as well as Justice Teams Network, and I were standing on a corner at a protest, probably the one, I don't know if folks may remember, where we shut down OPD and some amazing people climbed up and took their flag down and put up a flag accusing them of rape. And they were hot. But that ended up doing a couple of things, right? So we were standing there, and I'm smoking a cigarette, and I it turned to James, and I was like, "What the fuck are we paying them for?"
Right.
And then so we had this whole conversation about how much we were paying them and what it would look like to not pay them anymore. And the mission of APTP is to rapidly respond to, interrupt, and eventually eradicate state terror. Well, the only way that we're going to do that, right? The only way you decrease egregious uses of force is to decrease the amount of engagement that our people have with law enforcement. That's the data, right? That's not cat, that's just facts. The problem of getting to that place, however, is that post the war on drugs, like you mentioned, Liz, resources were stripped and stolen from our communities, and what got replaced with, because the people that are smart about that stuff told Nixon, well, if you do this, this is going to happen.
Right.
The Kerner report. So we got a violent crosswell system, and we got militarized police. And we've sort of been living under that oppressive blue ever since. So anyway, so James Birch went off and started to do a bunch of research and gave birth to defund OPD. Our first demand was to take 50% of the Oakland Police Department's budget and redirect it to mental health services, 24/7 mental health response. And this is really important because I'm always trying to correct history, because there's some rewriting.
Always.
Rewriting of history.
There's always people trying to do that.
Listen, APTP was the first organization to demand an alternative model to mental health response that didn't lead with law enforcement, period. Right. And part of why we did that was because people were calling us to respond. They were like, we don't want to call the police. We stand in solidarity with with y'all. Who do we call? And we looked at each other and was like, oh shit, well, we better figure this out.
Yeah.
And so we did. So we were responding, we were making this demand. And that was the birth of the campaign. And even allies were like, Kat, all right, you've gone too far this time. You all have lost your minds. That's never going to happen. What are you talking about? But we were like, listen, in addition to needing to decrease the amount of engagement folks of color have with law enforcement, why are police the answer to every single social ill? If 50% of the people that are gunned down by law enforcement are in the middle of a mental health crisis, why do we continue to send a badge and a gun instead of a trained, and I'm not saying trained, you got to have letters behind your name, but a trained responder that's going to have care and compassion. To get to be a mental health worker, you've got to have like 6,800 hours, right, of training.
Yeah.
In a good, air quotes, CIT, crisis intervention training, which is what cops get, they get 15 hours. What are you saying to me? So there was the alternative models part, and it's cheaper, right? What we're talking about is going to save money and lives.
It's going to create a workforce.
Yeah, and I think create a workforce of living wage jobs. So even though the MH First volunteers, shout out to all of them, they are all volunteers for now. So anyway, so that I was like, this actually makes sense. Everything that you want, and this will get us to our current moment, right? Everything that you want, everything that we want, from more arts programs to more money for the streets being cleaned, to parks, to after school programs,
libraries,
you name it. That money was all sucked up in the Oakland Police Department budget, who was taking 50% of our general fund every single year. And that was just on paper. Because the reality is, between the tens of thousands of dollars they cost us in lawsuits, and then on top of that, unapproved overtime to the tune of millions, you're talking closer to 60-65%.
And we're not talking like 2 million. We're talking about like annually close to 45 million a year.
So they're doing work they don't need to be doing, and they're taking money that could be better used other places. And then the last thing I'll say, at least on the logic and the birth of the movement, was that we were also very clear, and the data is also very clear, that police are not violence preventers.
No.
But cops being around, there's no correlation with more cops and less violence.
No.
It's just not true. What cops do, if they're lucky, and those of us who live in the hood know, is respond to violent crime right after the fact.
And how long it takes them to actually show up.
That's my point. I mean, that's my point.
Exactly.
Right? Or they don't show up at all.
Yep.
So that's stupid. I'm actually tired of putting children in the ground. I'm actually tired of consoling mothers. I'm actually tired
So
of people
stupid.
getting shot, right? And so
Yes.
to me, regardless of how you feel about police or law enforcement or policing in this country,
Right.
what we're talking about makes sense. And if cops aren't doing everything else, right, that we don't need them to do, they
Mm-hmm.
could actually focus on this violent crime, right?
Yeah.
That folks are let's as we're walking the pathway to abolition, let's go have them do that.
Yeah.
So it's logical, it's rational, it's about prevention instead of response,
Yes.
reinvestment of resources that were stolen from our people. And it's been a 6-year campaign. This last year, we built the Defunding Police Coalition with Oakland Rising, Courage, Cause of Justa, Community Ready Corps. I'm afraid. See, I should never start naming people.
A-Rock, Ella Baker Center, who else? A-Pen, CJJC, like this
Critical
whole
Resistance.
critical resistance, urban peace movement. Like
Yes,
it's like a strong core group of
it's it's
folks.
it's it's massive. It's major. It's the heavy hitters, and the important thing about that too, because you said combating lies. One of the lies, and I'll say it come out of Lauren Taylor's mouth, is that none of the people that were advocating for this reduction in police dollars and reinvestment in the people were from the impacted communities. That's something you hear over and over again. And there's certain folks that took that and ran with it. That's a lie. No,
Yeah.
every single organization that's part of the Defund Police Coalition is based in the Flatlands, works with BIPOC impacted people. Every single one of us.
Yes. And when you mention that, there's no retort.
Nothing.
Right?
They can't. What they're gonna say?
They just like push past that and then go to like, no, these are the white gentrifiers, right? It's the white new folks that are coming in saying what we need in our communities, and it's like, actually, it's not, right? Like, actually, the majority of the people who show up to city council meetings, the majority of people who are making e-comments, the majority of that is because we are damn good fucking organizers. We are in the community. We are not being led by like what I believe. Every single one of those organizations work from the ground up. We, as Oakland Rising, just to demystify this as well, Oakland Rising, I can't move until my partner organizations tell me I can move, and they can't move until their base tells them they can move.
That's right.
So sometimes that shit is slow,
Yep.
but that's the right way to do it, because we got to hear, it's not like I just decided, I woke up this morning, oh, I'm going to defund the police.
Right.
Like, it's not like, oh, Kat and I were just sitting around going, what? Let's just do this, right? Or anybody that you all, it was really coming up from an experience from the people. And sometimes that shit takes a really long time. And we are here today. And we're also seeing that across the country, right? Like, it's not just in Oakland.
But Oakland's the vanguard. Go ahead,
I'm saying,
town business.
Yeah.
Town business once again.
Exactly.
And you know, who I don't want to erase, Liz, is the families, right?
Yes.
The impacted families.
Yes.
That wanted this, that helped craft this movement and this messaging. That is almost it's so like when they just like, oh, it's just a bunch of white folks. I'm like, do you understand you were disrespecting hundreds of Black and brown families who are mourning their loved ones? Like, that mystifies. And then the other thing, I know you're going to relate to this, the demonization of organizing. Like, it just, my head.
I'm like, really?
I'm like, that's what it's called, yo. And if you feel like we're not reaching a specific demographic, instead of tweeting about it, vague booking about it, why don't you go organize those people that you say ain't there?
Okay.
How's that for a concept?
Oh my God.
Yeah, like they got everybody to flood the. Yeah.
Yes.
What you do.
Yes, that's what you do. You talk to people, you go hit up there, you knock on their doors. You don't just do a press conference. You do that and you talk to people, and these are informed by those experiences. And yeah, so whenever I hear Libby say that stuff, I'm just like, you know what? When my daughter hears that, when my young daughter hears that, she's like, the other day she said to me, she goes, wait, Amma, how much longer do we have her as our mayor? I was like, 1 more year, baby. About 1.5 years. And she was like, why?
Tell her we ask ourselves that every day.
Why? Yeah. And so like, I'm really glad that you're clearing that up and really making that connection, because I think what we bring to the table too as organizer is an arc of history. right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We don't just come out of the blue. It didn't, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, this happened because of George Floyd, right? This was a moment in this arc of history that actually predates even the work that you all were doing, right? Because that's built on top of like work that other people had done and generations before us had done. And
Listen,
like,
let's talk about the Panthers, right? So this particular fight, well, first of all, Black people have resisted since the first one was
thank
kidnapped and
you.
brought to these shores. We've
Yes.
always rebelled. We've always revolted.
And
We've
it's always
always,
been in solidarity.
yes,
There's always been solidarity across the
always.
board. Always.
Um, but I say this iteration, right? I mean, the
Yes.
Panthers were 17, 18, 19-year-old
Yes. So
who were tired of
amazing.
having their asses kicked and watching their people's asses kicked by the police.
Yes.
Right. And so we stand on their shoulders. Mama Joan Tariqa, which for those you don't know, first woman to join the Black Panther Party,
Yes.
taught the boys how to shoot. Many people
Okay.
don't know that either. She's badass. She also plays the fucking violin
She's
and does art.
amazing.
She's so amazing.
Have you seen
But
her at a meeting, at an event? She'll just be drawing. And she'll
yes,
draw the entire event.
the whole thing.
It's
By the time the meeting's
amazing.
over, it's phenomenal. But she commented on the post that I did about the win. And I was just like, so I was like, Mama, we stand on your shoulders.
That's right. That's right.
Right. You laid the foundation for this. And to your point, yeah, I would laugh because, the youngsters would be like, this is the beginning. This long continuum. I mean, this particular iteration of a fight, I'd say, started with our 2009 response to the murder of Oscar Grant.
Right.
People forget. People forget that we had snipers on buildings. People forget that we had tanks rolling down our street. Right. People forget the oppressiveness and the violent response of the state to our organizing. And people also forget that there was international solidarity. That was also the time of Arab Spring.
Yes.
And folks in Egypt had signs that said, "I am Oscar Grant." I mean, it changed. It did it. It opened the door to this new, not new, to the next era of organizing around this issue.
Yeah. And and this is not at all to diminish the power and the work that folks had done over the years, right? But that even the Black Panthers came out of the Third World Liberation Front, that was like the impetus to like ethnic studies and what we know and the College of Ethnic Studies and all of that their knowledge base actually comes from the studies that come out of Third World Liberation Front, right? Like the major organizing that students did. And this was a third world people's movement, right? And so even the Black Panthers, alongside the Black Panthers were the Brown Berets, was the Yellow Peril, was the Red Movement, right? Was the Polynesian Panthers. Like, these were folks that were not only just talking about what's happening in the conditions in Oakland or in the US, but those connections to third world liberations, right? And so when I look at what's happening in policing and why is this important to me as an Asian woman, not only because Asian voices in terms of like violence and the committed violence against Asian people in this country historically as well. But also, if I think about it, the reason why I'm even fucking here is because the US military occupation of my land, right? So if we're not making those connections, and if you all aren't seeing like the militarization of our police department and where they got that from our US military, right? They got that from the Israeli Defense Forces. They learned that shit from those places, right? And so, when we show up to these places, like that's what solidarity really means, right? Thank you, the Dalit Panthers of India. Yes, exactly.
And I want to shout out ancestor Baba Richard Aoki, right? And his solidarity with the Panthers. I actually had the honor of meeting him when I first came to Oakland. I was working with, along with Carolyn Turha and Santawa with the Black August Organizing Committee, and Shaka Ethin and Richard used to slide by. And we lost him tragically. He took his own life.
I remember
but yeah,
that.
always. And the Panthers understood
Yeah,
And what we understand and what I believe we're demonstrating is that collective struggle leads to collective liberation, right?
exactly.
Nobody's free until we're all free.
Exactly.
Um, Actually, I know you're interviewing me, but I sort of want to flip the script a little bit because
Yeah,
I
please.
would like to take some time because I get calls all the time like what do you say to the Asian community about the violence and when they don't want to defund and what do you say to them about what happened to them? I don't say anything about what happened to them except for I'm so sorry and how can I be of service?
Mm,
Um, right?
yes.
That's
Yeah.
my job. That's my job is to be an accomplice. It is not my job to tell any other group how they feel and to engage in a larger conversation, right? And to be
Mm,
there to engage in a larger conversation and things that are actually going to keep my Asian relatives, comrades safe, right?
I,
And I'm clear that
yes.
that's not cops. But I would love for you to talk about and let me say one more thing.
Mm,
And I'll never forget when Asians for Black Lives popped up, right?
right.
And stood in solidarity like a motherfucker, right?
Yes.
Um,
Chain
and
themselves to OPD's
chained
doors.
themselves to OPD, sure
Yep.
did. And so like with people, this conversation came up about Asian Black solidarity and how people know something is like the way that we've always fucking responded in
Yes.
solidarity. But I would love for you to talk about from your perspective
Yeah.
what happened, what has been happening in our Asian neighborhoods and in what ways um, in what ways we can be in solidarity to ensure safety without increasing surveillance or police terror.
And that's it, right? Like that we can't sparse out um, criminalizing, we can't sparse out policing in that way. That when it happens to one community, it's going to happen to us all, right? And so we can't deny and see that we have, and within the Asian community, I think we also need to sparse out the large diversity of the Asian community. During the 60s and 70s, during the fight for, civil rights and all of that, there was a big movement to try and get like, we need this category as API in order to build power, political power. But what that did was it ended up erasing the marginalization of the disparity within our community, right? So as an East Asian, generally with East Asians, they're, on the higher end economically in terms of privilege and access. There's a higher end to that, right? There is much more. And then if you sparse it out even more with the Southeast Asian community, with the Dalit community, with with the PI community, the Pacific Islander community, there's a huge disparity in what that looks like. And so when we talk to Cambodian brothers and sisters, when we talk to our Vietnamese brothers and sisters, we're talking about some seriously high rates of deportation, right? So the same things that are affecting communities of Black communities, the economic conditions by which Black communities are living in, some of our Asian communities are living in the exact same conditions, are growing up in the exact same conditions, are being criminalized and policed at the exact same conditions, and we're being deported for it. So they're being separated from their families, from the land and the people that they only know, the language that they know, and are being sent back to countries they have they have no knowledge of, right? And so there is layers to this that I think are really important.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're going to talk about criminalization, if we're talking about more policing and more surveillance, we got to know that that's going to actually turn on us, right? It's going to turn on us as well. We're not safe from any of it, right? At any time, that same carceral system that targets Black and brown folks, and our indigenous people, is the same one that will be turned on us, right? When we walk into the doors, I mean, a lot of people think about immigration, and in the United States, it's so narrow. They talk about just, the Latinx community, the impact on the border. But actually, a large number of this are Asian folks, and a large number of it are African folks and Caribbean folks, right? So this is so much larger than the talking points that are out there. And Libby Schaaf has really tried to capitalize on that fear. And she's really good. The neoliberal agenda is all about splitting communities. And so if we align ourselves with that, if we continue to align ourselves with that, then we're splitting our communities. And our power is in what you're saying, Kat, is solidarity. It is being able to see my struggle and what I'm going through in my community is completely tied to your struggle, right?
Absolutely.
And within the United States context, we need to center the voices of black folks and indigenous people, because the struggle here is in this context, right? It is real. The disparity between what happens between black and indigenous folks and what happens to Asian folks is huge. And we need to understand that, but we also need to understand that whatever's happening to our folks, our siblings over here, is going to happen to us. And we don't want that. We really, at the end of the day, what we really want, what every single person wants, is to be safe.
That's true.
We want to know that I'm going to have a place to live. And when I was telling you that I was like hustling, like living month to month, at the end of the month going, hey, can I afford to buy this? Like extra pizza for my kids? Can I sparse out my food stamps because I might go over my fucking limit? Like these kinds of issues don't just impact race. It impacts us across our income level and our immigration status, right? And so if we don't see those all tied in together, and we're not willing to fight for this for our brothers and sisters, then it's going to impact us. And we're going to see more and more of our brothers and sisters, our Asian brothers and sisters, getting deported, ending up in the carceral system, ending up homeless, ending up in the same situations. We are side by side in this struggle. And so we can't, so and I'm going to say this to the Chinatown Chamber of Commerce and some other folks in the community who are really calling for more surveillance. Y'all just fell into Libby's trap. Let's not fall for that trap. Let's really find the community resources that really lift us up. Building off of a tradition, like let's talk about Chinatown's history. So when Chinese folks first came over, they built family associations. Why? Because the government here refused to provide services for them. We know how to take care of each other. We know how to bury our people. That's why there's a Chinese grave. There's a Chinese cemetery across on the other side of the bay, because of this same reason, right? So why is Chinatown where it is? Because of redlining. We are impacted by the exact same things. So if we fall into that trap, like I made it,
right,
because I worked hard,
right.
Let me walk into your back kitchen at your restaurant and see how well you're paying your workers.
Right.
How exploited are you doing that? And at whose exploitation and who's winning at the end of the day is the neoliberal agenda, is corporations, it's the police. And we're going to end up in the same situation. So we need to fight that together. That was really long. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I mean, I'm really, to be honest with you, I mean, of course, continue to do it because it's important, and voices of Black solidarity are important, and like I want to have the conversation with you. I saw Mush's on here. I want to have a conversation with Mush. We've been talking to Alvina and others. I'm tired of talking to fucking reporters because I'm like,
yes,
no, but really, right? Because because we got.
Your skin is facts, according to Michelle.
Hey, Bush, I love you.
Right? She's glowing right now.
Oh man, listen, I'm in my mid-40s. I was like, I better start taking this shit seriously now. Because I mean, I know black don't crack, but I'm only half of that, so I got to deal with the other 50%. Shit. But you made me forget what I was saying. I want to have the conversations that are going to get to the solutions, because it's not just around policing that we're the vanguard. Really, it is around what collective struggle looks like. It is what having principled disagreement looks like. It is dealing with the contradictions, right? As a community, it is the push pull, and we're the vanguard in that shit too.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so those are that's the conversations I want to have, right? I loved, right? All of the different groups that came together, like, to push for the people, right? And I want, and we always say this, but it's true, like, legit, like, how we're gonna sustain that energy, because they're coming for us, right? Like,
Totally.
I also want to be really clear, like, first of all, the first thing to be clear is Libby and Lauren and LaRon. Oh wow, I just realized that Libby, Lauren, and LaRon.
The triple L's.
We may have some fun with that too.
I see the memes coming.
Oh yeah. So the three L's, as they shall now be dubbed moving forward. Lying.
You heard it here.
Right, talking about as of tomorrow, the police are going to lose all this money. We're going to lose these cops. Response time is going to be down. Crime's going to go up. Listen, let me be really careful, clear. Unless we deal with the actual things that are creating the crime, they're going to go up regardless.
Yeah.
Second of all, the police still have $600 million.
Their budget,
in fact,
it's larger.
It went up a little bit.
Yes, and they got a COLA that other people didn't get.
Another one.
Yes.
So for the next for that budget cycle, right?
Yes.
Nothing changes. Yes, till July 1st, 2022, when we will have, oh dear God, be on the way to a new mayor. Nothing changes. So for those of you who are terrified that the defund crazies have taken all this money away from the police, and all the savages will be running the streets amok tomorrow, it's just not true. So that's the first one. And you don't need to really push back on some of these people for lying to you, because you know what, Black, brown, BIPOC folks, we actually do live in fear.
Yep.
Right? We have things to be worried about. Yep. And how dare they? How dare they play on our fear and our trauma to push their agenda? Right? Yep. How dare they? Like, that should really make you freaking angry. And then the other thing for the detractors, I'm trying to understand really, and this is Black, brown, like I've seen all sorts of folks, white folks. Why are you angry that $18 million, and I understand it wasn't 50%, right? But first of all, that was the goal my organization set. So if anybody should be mad, it's fucking me. I'm not mad. I am thrilled that millions of dollars is going into the arts.
Yes.
I am thrilled that millions of dollars is going into violence interruption and to deal with trauma.
Yes, and our parks and all of it. Yeah.
Yes, and our parks. Oh yeah, and see, there's it. See, there's the next slide. Lauren talking about Lauren. Sorry, someone keeps calling me. Lauren talking about how the disinvestment in parks in the East. Not true, y'all.
Not true.
Not true. Plenty money going there. Like, stop. We'll try to break it down. I know all of our organizations, the arts folks have been doing a good job too. We'll break down where the money's going. Yes. You all have the talking points. But tell these people that are supposed to be in service to you to stop lying to you.
Yes, exactly. And I think, like, continually getting out there, supporting the people who champion this, right? Supporting Councilmember Nikki Bass, because people are coming hard for her and for Councilmember Fife.
Yes.
Carol Fife. They're coming for their necks, y'all. And we need to take care of our people. So, like, protect them, because these folks come from the community. And what's really different about the two of them particularly they are community organizers. There are other folks who are progressive, who are on the city council. We love them as well. We partner with them and we co-govern with them. But they don't come from a place of community organizing. And that is the root of what Nikki and Carol are doing, is using their role to organize the community. And look at how successful that has been. And Nikki and Carol didn't come from a void. They came from our community organizations, right? They came up from years of organizing in the community, years of working with people on the very issues that they're trying to fund. And so, yes, it is a starting point. And I think I want to wrap up as we get to the end of the hour. This has been so much fun, Kat. I have had so much fun today. So what's next, right? Because I think that's also the other thing. One of the reasons why we couldn't get to 50% is Measure Z. And so what's going to happen next, so that people can look forward to, like, oh, we won this, but y'all, we need to keep moving. We need to keep going down the field and get this ball through the end zone so that you all, like my metaphor, so that you all can like join in on this and continue on the path and get organized. We're not just talking about being mobilized. We're talking about organizing people for the long haul.
Yep. So, three things are going to be on the ballot in 2022. We start preparing for it now. One is the mayoral race.
Mm-hmm.
The other is city council race, right? We'll be supporting Nikki, of course.
Mm-hmm. Unless she runs
Unless,
for mayor.
Yeah, I don't do that to people because that's what was done to me.
Okay, I'll stop.
So I don't do that. And then and so there's the mayor, Nikki's seat, D6
Yes.
is up. And the other thing that we will get on the ballot is Measure Z. And actually, this is where we really need y'all, right? So to Liz's point, Measure Z are violence prevention dollars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that goes to the police department, the fire department, and violence prevention organizations. The police get the lion's share of that money at 60% of the dollars. That's on top of the general fund, by the way.
How do they do that?
It is 60% of those dollars. But the other thing, even the more infuriating thing, is that the police association, they're not unions, they don't represent labor. The police association, OPOA, they snuck something else in there. So in order to not oppose Measure Z, in addition, again, the 60%, they also snuck in a staffing floor.
Yeah.
Right. Which means that Oakland has to have 600 cops bare minimum, regardless of what they're doing or how they're spending their time.
Right.
So we couldn't get to 50% because it would have meant that we violated that provision of Measure Z. And so we want to rewrite Measure Z. We want the vast majority of those dollars to actually be going to violence prevention, not violence response.
Okay.
And we want to pull out that floor. So that's one. The other thing is, remember that every year there's a review of the budget, right?
Yes.
So the demand was 50%. It remains 50%. We're going to get to 50%. This was a win, not the win.
Right.
And so we've got to continue. And I think it's two things, right? We've got to start working on what those demands look like now. We've also got to be bracing ourselves for the attacks and protecting, our elected and also our community, our community leaders.
Yes.
Gearing up for midterms. The mid-budget cycle review. And we need to continue to impact the public debate, right?
Right.
Because the faces that they trot out, often they look like ours.
Right.
Right. And the conditions that the state creates generate fear. We need to be talking to our people and continue to impact the public debate and continue to demonstrate why defund makes sense. CENTS.
So y'all don't know that, right? Because like oftentimes like people see us like out in the front, just coming really hard. But what really happens on the inside when we're organizing together is this, y'all. It's a lot of laughter, it's a lot of love, it's a lot of joy, and ultimately what it is built on is love and hope, right? We have like a deep, deep love, hope, and compassion for our community and for our people. And so when we hear folks coming at organizers, when we hear people coming after the work that people have put in over the years, that's where we draw the line, because what we know
that's when we stop laughing.
That's when we stop laughing, and it's like, all right, let me take this ring off.
Right.
I gotta take my hoops off. Let's go. And so and I am so glad to be in this role with you and with APTP and all the work that we're all doing together in all the spaces. And I hope we can come and do this again, because I had so much fun with you.
Anytime. I did too. And I'm not going to get it exactly right, but I just make the last thing I say, because we get accused of being hate-filled, horrible people. But to your point about love, the work that we do is because we love our people so deeply. And what did Chase say? Revolutionaries are guided by deep feelings of love.
Always. Yeah. Thank you for ending with that.
Right. Mad respect. Love you, Oakland. Thank you, everybody.
Love you too. Yes.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody. Please share. And if you really enjoyed this, please feel free to go to oaklandrising.org/donate and donate to us. And you'll help keep Monday Meals going. And so we can keep these kinds of conversations up and informing the public about what's really going on in the city of Oakland. And as we expand and grow into Alameda County and the work that we're doing there and taking on the sheriff and the DA and the Board of Supervisors. So please support Oakland Rising and go to oaklandrising.org/donate. Thank you all.